Hello and welcome to the book reviews segment where we look at fantastic works of budding authors right here on the show. My name is Louisa Olani and today's no exception as I have a fantastic young man with us this morning. He's none other than Eclipse Nkasi. That's his pen name, and of course the book we're looking at today is titled No Rice on Sunday. That title actually got me. Actually, I'm sure it got you too. Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
Yeah, nice having you. That title got me all laughing. At first, I was like, okay, yes, a typical Nigerian scenario. Rice on Sunday is like an in for us. If you're not eating rice, then you're not a Biggs boy.
You're not a Nigerian to begin with. So,
all right. So talk to us about the title.
I feel like the title is just a reflection of the theme of the book, not the topic in itself. It's a compilation of short stories, and they all are very different. But the one thing they have in common is that they don't exactly end the way you would expect them to. So, and I wanted that to just kind of reflect life in general. So, for example, growing up in Nigeria, we always ate rice every Sunday. And then there was this one Sunday that we came back and there was no rice. And Mom gave us eba, and I remember feeling so pained as a child. But I feel like in a weird way, it was the first time I learned a life lesson that sometimes you don't just get things that you want. So in a way, there's just going to be those Sundays when there's no rice. So that was what I was trying to capture with the story. So every time a story starts a certain way, it just ends some other way, either positively or negatively, because that's just how life is. Sometimes it doesn't work out how you'd imagine.
So like you said, it's a compilation of short stories. What are the areas you actually looked into? Let me see if I'm going to relate to any. Rice on Sunday is everybody I know. So I mean, what are other areas?
So there's a lot of things I touched on, like drug abuse, overpopulation, gender imbalance. So even though I tried as much as possible to always twist the angles, create stories that I feel like people could relate to in a very different way. So without giving out too much, So
you always leave us wanting for more.
Exactly. So, like, for example, the one about gender imbalance isn't a story about women being oppressed. It's a story of men who are actually being oppressed by women.
Wow.
So, but I just wanted it to be thought-provoking for maybe even a man who would read that to be like, why would this be happening? And be like, that's how women feel about it. So just for a moment, let's put ourselves in their shoes.
So, I mean, bringing all of this to the fore, what was like the end product? I mean, what do you hope to achieve at the end of the day in all of this?
I hope I can get people to think maybe a little more. Like, I feel like as creators, creatives, or even entertainers, every now and then it's nice to leave a little bit of something that gives your work a bit more substance. Now, I don't believe that this one book will change the world.
So true.
So it's kind of like, if I might quote, Tupac of all people, but, he says in an interview one time that he might not change the world, but he believes he would spark the mind that will change the world. So even if I'm not going to be the guy that influences 10 million people, I'd like to be one of the people that influence the one person that just might. And that's what I'm hoping to do with this.
All right, so let's look at the journey into writing. How did it start for you?
Writing, I believe that I've always been a creative. So, I started as a rapper myself, and then a music producer, and I have dabbled into so many things which have included graphic designs and a lot. And I believe creativity is honestly the same thing. It's in its core form. So I have always sort of written. I just was always lazy to put it together. And this year, by the time the year started, I had like a few goals, and I said, you know what, I'm going to get this out of the way. So it took me quitting my job, to have enough time to do it. But I just wanted to make sure that I delivered on it. So like the first half of the year, I stopped working because I had been working as the head of promotions for Chocolate City Music.
Why couldn't you just juggle both?
Really,
sometimes some motivational speakers come and like, okay, I had to achieve this because I did this and stuff like that. To some others, quitting might not be an option. So why?
Of course. So the difference here is, and so just for the benefit of people who are listening, not to say you must quit your job to write a book, is that there was a couple of things I wanted to do. So I wanted to do more even as a musician. So I wanted to invest a bit more in my craft. I felt like I had taken too much time off it, and just doing stuff that was great, but was for that time, and I wanted to do more stuff that I think was more directly investing in myself and giving me more fulfillment. So I decided I would have more time to create and just a better mental headspace if I didn't have to worry about deliverables the next morning, if I didn't have to meet deadlines, because at the time the job description really involved me handling a bunch of briefs. Yeah.
So what about the shedder? I mean,
that's the tricky part. No, let's be real. Let's be real.
Yeah.
That's probably the hardest part about being a creative in today's age.
Okay.
You can't have it all. So you either have a job that pays you, and you don't have time for your art, or you're having time but you don't have the money, and that's where it gets really tricky because these bills will not pay themselves.
So true.
But just to throw it in there so that it doesn't seem like I probably had a bit of an advantage, because with the new age I've probably lived off of the earnings I've made from music, because I still do decent numbers online with streaming and all of that. So with this new age I don't have to actively go around as a musician to make money as a musician. So that has kept me.
I needed to know it's giving you income, and not just say I quit. People like chocolate music for guy, are you okay for writing? How lucrative is writing? But I mean,
so that's the thing. The truth is, it's not mind blowing yet. And for me, all of these things are just bricks in a wall that I'm trying to build for the future. And I hope to look back or build upon this a lot later. And it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make right now. But I would say it has not been easy.
Not at all.
Not at all. There are days.
Okay, so like full time now writing, as a rapper and all of that, you have all of this creative stuff. You want things. Maybe that's why you did it all in short stories. Bringing out some stuff and putting it out there and compiling it and making it a book. It's easy for it's like a small fry.
Yeah, and I think it's just two things. One, it's easier to deliver if you have like milestones that are shorter. What I mean is that if I had to write one whole book that's really long, I'd probably get lazy. But if I had a few short stories that I could at least get to an end and say, hey, the end, I feel like we're done with something, it gives progress. Also, I like to write how I like to read. I'm not very much of a bibliophile. I won't lie. I won't sit down and read all of the Game of Thrones books.
Welcome to my world.
It's not me.
I'll just sleep. For me to sleep, give me a book.
So I like stories that kind of get to the point. I feel like a lot of books have a way of just repeating themselves because they want to make sure it's 500 pages long. So I would rather have a book that is, by all standards, let me blow my trumpet, really dope.
Yeah. So this is your first?
It's my first.
Oh, interesting. And of course, coming out really well. I like the fact that when I started, like, okay, this is not about a book that'll give you any form of rice recipe or something. It's just about rice and all of that. And I said, okay, what's it about? Yeah. And of course, you really have it on soft copy. I mean, like ebooks.
It's an ebook on Amazon, everywhere else. I believe that this is really the age we're in. Almost everything is digital, and also it is facts that as a first-time author, it would be harder for me to move physical copies. So it doesn't make as much sense when I did my research to invest that heavily in hard copies, which I might get around to doing, but I needed to just make sure I got people's feedback, built on what I had created, then we then expand from there.
Because I want to ask, some people come in and talk about how crazy publishing is. What's your experience in that world?
Publishing is tricky. It's difficult. Even when you want to self-publish, it's still expensive. But maybe because of my amount of experience from music, in a way, understanding that we can honestly distribute your content yourself if you understand it. So I did a bit more research, and to not downplay anybody's struggle, it's been tough. But I guess because I sort of have a better background at digital marketing and knowing how to get content around, it helped me, get around some of the issues. But if there were maybe more publishing outfits that were looking to help more independent authors, it might help. But I guess it also is affected by the ability for them to make money and sell. So it's very tricky. People would only invest in things that they're very sure they can make a lot of money.
So
it's really on us, the authors, to find ways to make sure these things become lucrative before you can go from there. It's difficult, but it's the reality that way.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if you have to change anything. Is there like some sort of unethical practice in that aspect that you might want to change if you have the ability to change?
If I could, like if I had all the power, I believe that even for people who finally get publishing deals, the deals aren't very great. Like I've seen some samples even online, and I've seen some references, and the splits are not very favorable to the authors. So people get, in my opinion, very small bits of their work. I believe more and more in ownership of creative content. So whether it's a book, whether it's a film, I believe that people should own a lot more of their own rights. And it seems like the book space is still somewhat where music was some years ago, where people sign deals that just take everything and take ownership of almost everything that you create. And I'd rather not. So if I woke up and wrote a book and sold only 100 copies, even if I sold it for 1,000 naira, it means that I get 100,000 naira.
And it's yours.
It's mine. So, and I get that on a very large scale with a very big publishing outfit, it would make more sense to have 10% of a really huge pie. But I would like to still ownership relationship to
Yeah, it brings me back to what, I don't know if you read this article about Omotola recently about royalties and stuff like that, and it got some people talking as to, okay, you have to be that brand there before you start talking about royalties, because it seems that some people might not be able to pay them like their worth, but okay, they want like a long-term stuff. How is that a problem for creative? How do we go about knowing the deals to sign so we don't all put our eggs in one basket because of the immediate fame we want and lose out years to come?
So, there's the truth that you own what you create, and to that extent, you have the right to demand for royalties, regardless of if you are popular or not. There's also the fact that in reality, you cannot make some demands if you're on the side where you're trying to build something. So you have to sacrifice at some point.
Okay.
Also, you need to try as much as possible to learn as a creative about both the legal part of these things. It's difficult, but it's on you. Then there's now the last sad truth that you won't know everything and you will get ripped off along the line.
So you need some people, mentors.
My fair share of it, So, but it's just that as you're growing through it, learn as quickly as you can, because by right you should get these things. All right.
So because we're out of time, how do we get this book? I hear people say, okay, I'm an Amazon published author, blah blah blah. That's like the hype. So where do we get all of this?
It's Amazon published and all, but it's available on my website. So
okay. So what's your
www.eclipseandcassie.com. That's where it is. So just eclipseandcassie.com/shop to get there directly, or if you just go to the website eclipseandcassie.com, you can definitely find it there.
So what do we expect from you? What then? Something else cooking? No rice. What other food do we publish?
There's no pounded yam on Wednesday.
Something else crazy, creative, really fantastic. So and I'm not to read one or two, so we can get that on your website. What else?
Yeah, so I believe that by next year there will be an audiobook for it.
Wow,
hopefully, if you
they're making us lazy by the day. That idea, that's the and flip over more.
When you're going to work, just put your earpiece on and listen.
I just
I'll try to read it myself, so I'll give them the best voice of like in the beginning there was a time.
Yeah, you can also pass for a voice of art. You're just a total package. Thank you so very much. Nkasi Oguchukwu, of course, under the pen name Eclipse Nkasi. The book title No Rice on Sunday is a must read. I gave someone your number yesterday when I posted it on my status, and he said, I want this book. I'm like, okay, go through this guy. I don't know if the person called you, so you might just want to get it on his website and also on Amazon. Thank you so very much for making our time to be here. We look forward to No Amala on Wednesday, coming soon. From me to you, thanks for staying tuned. See you next week where we bring you yet another interesting creative personality right here on the